Welcome to the first ever episode of The Capitolist, where we take a serious look at Florida politics and policy, stir in a heaping helping of satire and a dash of saltiness, and then we bake it in the oven for 30 minutes every week. Smells like this dish is ready to be served. We start with the 2018 governor's race, a topic that's going to stay at the top of our menu for the next year. And even though there's about 24 people already in the race, the average voter couldn't tell you the name of a single candidate.
I actually have no idea, but I heard about some woman named Gwen, so I might vote for her.
I'm just excited to talk a little bit about the Democrats. I don't really know what's going on with the, Republicans, but I'm really rooting for Gwen Graham. If you're not really feeling the feminist thing, you could at least go for Chris King, and I know you're thinking about the mayor, at least, of Tallahassee.
I actually have no idea. I actually didn't know we were going to be voting so soon. Do a little research, figure out who the right candidate is for me, I guess.
On the Republican side, Agriculture Commissioner Adam Putnam is considered the frontrunner. One of the reasons is because he's got about $15 or $20 million in the bank. You'd think with that kind of cash, he could afford a better haircut.
Okay, wait. Are you really going to be...
You weren't going to let me pull that off,
Are you really going to be this mean on the show? Because I'm the one who has to book people, and if you're this mean, nobody's going to want to come talk to you.
I'm going to be equally mean to everybody. Equal opportunity meanness.
Yeah, let's try that.
Equal opportunity. Let me roll with that. Okay. Fortunately, Adam Putnam doesn't have a lot of competition in the hair department. State Senator Jack Lavilla does have a nice beard, though. Oh. And given that he's the Senate budget chairman, he shouldn't have too much trouble raising enough money to cause problems for Adam Putnam. On the Democratic side of the coin, we have former Governor Bob Graham's daughter.
Gwen Graham.
Gwen Graham. Good job. You said it.
Gwen.
It's hard for me to say, and frankly, she's really known for being Bob Graham's daughter. But she's also haircut challenged. I think she goes to the same barbershop as Adam Putnam. But even a better haircut couldn't help her. Right now, Bob Graham's daughter,
Gwen Graham,
is the frontrunner to be the Democratic nominee for governor. But I think she's the guaranteed loser at the ballot box next year. That's because she's a carbon copy of the Democrats' 2010 gubernatorial nominee, Alex Sink, but without the accomplishments.
Oof.
I know, equal opportunity though. Okay, maybe that was a little bit harsh, but take a look at Alex Sink's bio.
Okay.
She was a Democrat candidate back in 2010. She was a self-made woman, very successful.
Sure.
She taught school for several years in Africa. She came home and became one of the first female executives in the banking industry. She rose through the ranks. She became president of Florida operations at Bank of America, and she oversaw $40 billion of deposits, all before she even thought about a career in politics. Now, contrast that with Bob Graham's daughter.
Gwen Graham.
Yeah. Let's pull up her Wikipedia page. Take a look. She had some time as a lawyer. Don't even bother with the Wikipedia page. Do you know why? Because she's accomplished exactly nothing except for being a great daughter to Bob Graham. I've seen her Facebook photos. They go kayaking together and stuff, mostly photo ops. But bottom line is, she won a seat in Congress only because she had the political connections to help her get elected. And unfortunately for her, her political connections weren't even enough to keep Corrine Brown from stealing all the Democratic voters in Tallahassee during redistricting. So look, if Bob Graham's daughter is the best that Democrats can do, I'm going to call the race right now for the Republicans. But of course, she is not the best the Democrats can do, and everybody who follows politics knows it. The Democrats' best hope is none other than John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan.
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 Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Morgan of Morgan & Morgan.
Morgan of Morgan & Morgan.
Morgan of Morgan & Morgan.
Morgan of Morgan & Morgan.
Morgan & Morgan.
For the people.
If John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan gets into the race, he will wipe the floor with Gwen Graham and give just about any Republican candidate a run for his or her money. Why? Because John Morgan is real. He's authentic. He speaks off the cuff, and in a post-Trump world, that's a surefire recipe for success. Any political candidate who can be authentic, say what they think, and not come off like it's scripted or like they're trying to imitate Donald Trump will be a formidable opponent. John Morgan is one of the few public figures in Florida who can pull that off. If he gets into the race, the Republicans will fire everything they have at him, including the fact that he's got a fistful of DUI convictions and is usually so drunk he has to be chauffeured to his TV commercial shoots.
Wow.
I know, but none of those attacks are going to matter because we live in a brave new world where the President of the United States once delivered a suplex to Vince McMahon on SummerSlam.
This is not real estate.
What's going on over here?
Hey, look at this! Donald Trump! Donald Trump! Donald Trump taking me down, Mr. Oh, my God! The hostile takeover of Donald Trump!
Now, before we cut to the break, Ann, did you hear about the $3 billion lawsuit filed against the power companies in South Florida?
I did, and it sounds like the beginning of a joke. Did you hear about the one?
Yeah, it's not a joke. It's real. It's a $3 billion lawsuit. Politicians in Coral Gables won't let people cut down their trees. I mean, they have beautiful trees in Coral Gables, and they're gorgeous, and I understand that. Tallahassee has a similar ordinance here.
Sure.
But when Irma knocked the trees down, obviously those trees took down a lot of power lines, just like we had here with Irma.
Sure.
Or with Hurricane...
Hermine.
Yeah, Hermine, thank you. I couldn't even pronounce that one.
That's why I'm here.
I appreciate it. But it's the politicians in Coral Gables, all their trees knock down the power lines. So what do? They sue the power company for not having their lines up during the hurricane. $3 billion. It's pure political, legal genius. I think it's absolutely brilliant. And so my hat is off. My hat is off to the Mr. Politician and frivolous lawsuit lawyer guy, and I think it's time to roll a little tribute.
The Capitolist salutes Real Floridians of Genius.
Real Floridians of Genius.
Here's to you, Mr. Politician and frivolous lawsuit lawyer guy.
Mr. Politician and frivolous lawsuit lawyer guy.
For you, political power is only a tool to help you get rich. You sit in your $1 million Coral Gables mansion, enjoying your beautiful trees that are protected by a city ordinance you helped pass.
Don't even think about trimming those trees.
But when a hurricane knocks down your trees and takes out the power grid, somebody's got to pay for all that damage. And it sure as hell isn't gonna be you.
Time to point some fingers.
After all, how can you bill clients when your power lines are snarled in that shattered Cuban mahogany that once shaded your swimming pool?
Voters don't need to know it's your fault.
So file your frivolous lawsuit, O defender of the deciduous, because you know money really does grow on trees.
Mr. Politician and frivolous lawsuit lawyer guy.
Yeah, good. We'll be right back with our expert panelists talking about the 2018 governor's race. Joining me on today's panel are three guests. The first is Ron Sachs, founder and CEO of Sachs Media Group. Katie Webb, managing partner of Kolodny Fast Lobbying and Government Consulting Division. And Chris Dudley, managing partner of Southern Strategy Group. Thanks for joining me today. Glad you're here. I want to throw this out to you. Easy starter question. We've got the governor's race coming up, 2018, and we're trying to figure out, little crystal ball, who is going to be the nominees for each of the respective parties for the governor's race. Ron, I'll throw it to you.
We have a long way to go to get to a general election ballot of who the nominees are, but if I had to pick today, I would say the front runners would be Adam Putnam on the Republican side and Gwen Graham on the D side.
Yeah, and you've been in this mix before. You've been in governor's races before. We've all been there. We've all seen it. We've all watched these things play out. But right now, are you saying that just because they're the money leaders, or is there other intangibles?
No, I think they have the name recognition. Others need to earn that. I think they've amassed pretty good campaign funds, and I think they're conventional choices. But a lot's going to happen in the next year that's going to cause people to go up and go down.
Okay. And Katie, do you agree with Ron, or was there any different insight?
Well, I would just add that the Republican primary is going to be crowded. And I think if you were to ask any of the three folks that have put their name out there so far, like Jack Latfalla, Richard Corcoran, or Adam Putnam, all three of them are going to have a plan that they're going to present to people who are potential donors, to the public, on how they intend to win the Republican primary. At this point, absent other folks on the Democrat side getting into the race, yes, I would think that Gwen Graham, it would probably be the most likely nominee from the Democrat Party. But I think the Republican primary is going to be very interesting to see how that unfolds.
So, Chris, we've got the consensus answer right now. We've got Gwen Graham, we've got Adam Putnam. They're the money leaders. They're the ones that are out there. They're building organizations. I mean, is there anybody else that can top what they've got already? What's going on? What do you think?
I think it'll be hard. I mean, there are 21 candidates as of today that have filed to run for governor. 11 of those are Republicans. Only 5 are Democrats. I mean, I don't think we've seen everybody that's going to get in this race. I think on the Republican side, Adam is clearly the leader. He's got, $20 million in the bank. He's got great name ID. He's been working a long time on the grassroots part of this. But Brian, as you well know, Governor Rick Scott got in the race of April of 2010, and $70 million later, he's governor. So I think it's hard to tell. On the Democratic side, I think Gwen Graham I think the Democrats have a history of looking at, hardcore progressives like Andrew Gillum and others, but at the end of the day, they nominate moderates. They nominate a little more middle of the road people they think can win and compete in the general. I think that's what they'll do.
I think another point worth mentioning is that I think if you check Florida history, there's never been a speaker or president who's been able to successfully ascend to the governor's mansion.
Why is that?
It's never happened. Because I think they have a higher opinion of how much name recognition they have around the state than they actually do. Now, Richard Corcoran is a different breed of House Speaker or Senate President.
And he's not in the race yet, but he's going to be.
I think he's been wildly underestimated along the way. He's a brilliant political strategist, and I do think, as Katie said, it's going to be a very exciting Republican primary.
Do we think I said he's going to be, and it's sure looking that way, but what is the alternative reality here for Richard Corcoran? If he doesn't run for governor, what would he do? Does he just fade away into the limelight?
I doubt we would see Richard Corcoran fade away into the limelight. He'll figure out something. I mean, obviously he is an attorney, could always return to a practice of law, but I don't think we see him just go away if he decides not to run.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Richard is a passionate public servant. I mean, I think he enjoys being in the arena. I think he likes making decisions. I think he relishes these public policy discussions, and I think he runs for governor. I don't think he fades away.
Let me throw this out at you, especially to you two. You guys are in the government affairs business, and you kind of know a little, maybe you probably know as much as you've been in the business as well, but in terms of just the actual day-to-day sausage-making grind, you've got Richard Corcoran and Jack Latvala both, who are sort of in the driver's seat when it comes to earned media, something you know a lot about, Ron. But does that mean that they're going to throw a monkey wrench into session, or a monkey wrench could get thrown into session to give them some kind of political advantage as they go into the 2018 sort of full swing governor's race?
I think it's a double-edged sword and a slippery slope for both of them. I think if you're trying to make the point that you can manage government, that you can keep the trains running on time, then you got to keep the trains running on time. I also think, the most important person that we're not talking about during this 2018 session is Irma, and I think Irma's going to suck a lot of the not only oxygen but cash out of the room. And when you're running for office, you want to have money in the budget to make it work for 160 members of the legislature. Right. So I think those two things are something that both Chairman Latvala and Speaker Corcoran are going to have to kind of plan for.
Agreed. I agree. I think that we're already looking at budget projections that show a deficiency going forward. So the budget's going to be a sticking point, and clearly Chairman Latvala has a lot of discretion over how that plays out. So I think that another key factor that we haven't really seen play out yet in how this gubernatorial campaign develops is what's going on in Washington and how that trickles down. I think that what we're seeing, especially, today we had the president come out and make some declarations as it relates to Obamacare, and there's a lot of people that are very concerned about how that ultimately will trickle down into state politics and how things play out, just in our political realm. So I think that's another big variable.
Right. Let me throw one at you. You're an earned media specialist. We both played this sort of gubernatorial communications game. If you're advising either Latvala or Corcoran, do you advise them to sort of throw a monkey wrench to get more earned media, or do you think that creates more problems for them?
I think these guys could burp in public and generate a statewide story. But for Corcoran, having the constitutional amendment on the ballot that he placed there that gets folks to double their homestead exemption, that is a referendum on
pocketbook issue.
Oh, he's going to milk that.
Okay. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Be right back. Hey, it's Brian Burgess here with the Capitolist. Just wanted to take a moment with session gearing up again, coming into 2018. Wanted to remind everybody about the free Capitolist app that you can download at either the App Store or the Google Play Store. You can get it directly at thecapitalist.com/app. It's more than just a news app. It's more than just my content from the site. It's also got content from all around the state. You can touch the little menu screen, the little red button over there, and it'll give you a bunch of menu options, or you can just slide the screen over. So you've got breaking news from all around the state. Some of the top stories are fit in here from just about every site that covers Florida politics, including floridapolitics.com and on all the legacy news sites, the Tampa Bay Times, the Miami Herald, and Sunshine State News. Even Shark Tank is on here, and of course the Capitalist feeds into this as well. So this is sort of a breaking news feed. Then we've got all your morning news briefings.
Sunburn, Politico Playbook. We've even got takeaways from Tally and links to Safety News. We've got Above the Fold from Kevin Kate, great little addition. So a quick run down the list. You can look up your favorite lobbyist to see who he or she is registered to lobby for. We've also got lobbyist appearances that you can look up. We've got top Twitter streams. We've got a campaign database. You can look up campaign documents, see who's donating to who's spending money on what. We've got links to the Florida channel. You can click on the Florida channel and watch your favorite committee meetings. It's very riveting viewing there. So anything that's going on there, all within the app, all one-stop shopping. And then a few other little things, handy tools. You've got Tramel Gomes' podcast is there. And then one of my favorite things is the Capitol Press Guide, which if I wanted to email someone from the Associated Press or the Tampa Bay Times or text them, you can do it all directly within the app. This page is sponsored by Sachs Media, but you can go into the Capitol News Service, for example. Click on that. You've got text numbers and emails to all these guys. And then if you want to close that out, you just go to the next news source. Let's say the Florida Times Union. Of course, there's Tia Mitchell's photograph and her. We can text her. We send her a text. We just tap on that, and it opens up our handy text option, and then we can send spam to Tia. So we've got a lot of different things, a lot of different ways to reach people. It's just a very handy app, one-stop shopping. It's been called the Swiss Army knife of Florida politics. Wanted to make you all aware of it. And of course, my favorite feature is the one where you can send news tips directly to the Capitolist. You can even attach photos and everything else and send it right to us. Protect your identity, be an anonymous source, contribute to society. That's all for now. More later. Download it for free once again at thecapitalist.com/app.
Welcome back to The Capitalist. New topic. I want to throw it out to the group. We have just a few more minutes. John Morgan of Morgan and Morgan. You know the right. Did I have to say that, or you already knew who I was talking about?
Know.
Is he the 600-pound gorilla in the governor's race?
I think he can do whatever he wants if you got in the governor's race, like Rick Scott on the R side. On the D side, John Morgan would be a player overnight and could win the nomination.
Is he an $80 million kind of player?
I think he doesn't need to run for governor, so I think he probably wouldn't if I had to guess today.
Okay. All right. Katie?
I agree wholeheartedly. I think if he got in, it would be a formidable candidate on that side. He obviously has plenty of money to fund himself, so I don't know that the timing of it is really that critical for him. He's got a ton of name ID, and I think that would be a really...
Right, he has an advantage that Rick Scott didn't have, which is he's known throughout
Right.
this state. He's got billboards everywhere. People know who John Morgan is automatically, for the most part. I don't know what the polling shows. Maybe it proved me wrong, but certainly it's higher than what Rick Scott's was when he got in the race. And Rick Scott had a couple of other things he had to overcome as well with his money. So he had to spend $80 million, but I don't know that John Morgan would. What do you say?
Right. I mean, my 5 and 7-year-old know who John Morgan is because they see his buses around town and his billboards. I think he runs for governor. But
you think he wants the job?
I do. I actually.
He has to do the job. Once you get elected, you actually have to do the job. You have to come into the office and you have to do the job every day.
I get it. I think he wants to do the job. I think he does want to do it. I mean, here's the problem. I mean, I think if the answer to Barack Obama is Donald Trump, I'm not sure the answer to Donald Trump is John Morgan. But I think he's got the money and the name ID and the drive to do it. I think if he sees the Dems floundering and not picking up steam, raising money, name ID, I think he jumps in.
I think he'd be frustrated by a still strong majority Republican legislature that would probably delight in blocking anything he wanted to do or much of what he wanted to do.
But he would throw his weight around in a way that they haven't. I mean, they haven't experienced. This legislature has not experienced a governor that can throw his weight around like Morgan can. And I don't mean that in any other way than he's got the savvy to do that sort of thing. Earned media-wise, sort of moving the media the way he wants them to move, heartstring issues. He's just a master of those things, and they haven't seen that.
I think he'd have a better shot at forging alliances with Republicans, as evidenced by the fundraiser he had for Richard Corcoran than many other Democrats would even consider.
Good point. Well, I thank you all for being on the show today very much, and we'll have you back next week. And thank you so much for being here. And that wraps it up.
Cabela's Salon and Spa is your best option for hair care, but it's also the best option for body care with a luxurious massage with our certified and licensed massage professional, Tracy. Come to Cabela's and enjoy a relaxing experience that increases blood flow and circulation, flexibility, helps with mood, and improves sleep patterns and hormone levels. Sessions can be tailored to avoid or focus on specific areas. You belong at Cabela's.
Welcome back to the Capitolist. I wanted to explain a little bit about the show and about what we're doing and how we structured it. And you just watched a panel with three fantastic experts. I wanted to tell you a little bit more about those folks and why we chose them. I had a lot of discussion with Ann Howard, my producer, and we wanted to make sure we had the perfect combination of people who could lend their expertise to any topic that might come up on the show. We decided the panel should have two regular members and one sort of hot seat member that we could sometimes change from week to week. Sometimes we keep it the same. The hot seat this week was an easy choice. As you saw, Ron Sachs is not only a successful media relations expert, but he once served as communications director to Governor Lawton Chiles. So he knows a thing or two about politics and governor's races. For the two permanent contributors, we are thrilled to partner with Katie Webb and Chris Dudley, both of whom bring a wealth of government and public affairs experience to the show. Here's an in-depth look at both.
I'm Chris Dudley. I'm the managing partner of Southern Strategy Group here in Tallahassee. I've been here for 17 years and worked for 7 years prior to that in state government for the Florida House, for the Department of Education, and for the Executive Office of the Governor. Kind of started when I was 11. In 1982, my dad decided to run for the Florida legislature. We lived in Fort Myers. He won. He ended up serving 4 years in the House and 12 years in the Senate. And my brother and I both kind of got the politics and the campaign bug early. We would wave on the side of the road. We would walk precincts. We would go to chicken dinner events with him. And so I think we really kind of enjoyed politics and government from an early age.
Katie Webb. I am the managing partner for Kolodny Fatz's Tallahassee Government Affairs practice. I have been lobbying for roughly a dozen years, and I'm happy to be part of this panel. So I grew up here in Tallahassee, went to college and law school at Florida State University, and through my tenure at FSU, I did a couple of different programs that involved being at the Capitol. I had an internship when I was a senior in college where I majored in political science, and I was fortunate enough to work with two very well-respected lobbyists at the time, and they took me around the Capitol. I met a bunch of people and got to see how the sausage was made. And then when I was in law school, the House of Representatives had a program where they would hire law students to work on committees and do bill analyses. So I participated in that program. Again, got to meet a ton of people and had a lot of exposure to how the legislative process worked. It absolutely is fascinating to be a part of politics right now. And what's especially interesting is watching how what's going on at the federal level is trickling down into state politics, whether it be campaigns, whether it be issue management, all types of election results. It's really interesting and fascinating.
Well, that's about all the time we have this week. But before I let you go, remember where you were when you first saw The Capitolist, our debut episode. I'm very happy with it. Very happy with our panelists, Ron Sachs, Katie Webb, and Chris Dudley. Next week, we'll be talking about legislative session, taking a little bit of a deeper dive into what's going on, maybe get out the crystal ball and figure out exactly what's going to happen and how it might shape the 2018 election cycle. Join us next week on The Capitolist.